7:43 is now the time. Well, you may be at a high risk for prediabetes or type 2 diabetes and not even realize it. Luckily, the American Diabetes Association has a diabetes risk test that you can take to find out how at risk you may be. Tomorrow is the American Diabetes Association Alert Day. It's basically a one-day wake-up call asking Americans to take the test. And here to talk to us about how this test works and the important issue about diabetes is Marjorie Cypress, President of Healthcare and Education for the American Diabetes Association here in New Mexico. Thanks for coming in again, Marjorie.
Thank you.
So let's talk about this Alert Day. It's actually tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, very important to have something like this in our community, huh?
Well, as you know, the rates of diabetes are going higher and higher.
Yeah.
And even in our own state, we're up at 11%. And if you add in the people who are undiagnosed, it's people at risk 13%. So it's a very important, for our state, it's very important, of course, across America too, to people find out if they're at risk for diabetes. And that's what the test is about. So we're trying to ask the American public to take the test, share it with their friends,
Sure.
and get active.
So let's talk about this test. What does it entail?
It's just a very simple test of a few questions that will ask you about your family, because if you have it in the family, you're at higher
there's
risk,
family history,
your
right?
age, if you're a member of a high-risk ethnic group,
Okay. Okay.
and
So
some
it's
other
like
questions about...
a questionnaire, a survey.
It's a questionnaire, and then it will tell you what your risk is, and it will also give you tips on things you can do to decrease your risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
I think it's interesting to kind of realize that there's so many people out there that may already have it and
Right.
not be aware.
And that's what's so frightening about this, because people sometimes are not even diagnosed until they've had it for about 7 or 10 years. And so during that period of time,
Sure.
diabetes is already doing damage to your body. So that's why we want people to know early you're at risk, or you may even have prediabetes, and then start to take some measures to decrease your risk.
Sure.
Things like eating healthy, losing some weight if you need to, and keeping physically active.
And what are some of the things that folks might want to think about, whether or not, if they're debating, should I take the test or not? I mean, you talked about a lot of times that there's a family history of diabetes,
That's right.
What are some of the other contributing
Being
factors?
overweight,
Okay.
being over the age of 45, as I mentioned before, being a risk of a high risk ethnic population like African American, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islanders, and of course Native Americans are at very, very high risk as well. But we're all at risk. I mean, we're aging, we're all at risk.
That's a good point. And
Yeah.
we're really talking about type 2 diabetes
Yes,
because
we
there
are.
are different
Yes, we
types
are.
of diabetes,
Right,
correct? And
yes.
type 2 usually, is that the more common one, would you
It
say?
is the more common one.
Okay.
It is the more common one, and it typically was one that we saw only in adults. But as our population has gotten more overweight, we're seeing this more in children. And that's very frightening, because that gives them more years of being sick with diabetes and a higher risk of complications.
Wow. And pretty simple to take this test, then. I
Oh,
mean,
very
it's just-
easy. You can get online.
Yeah.
It's at stopdiabetes.com.
Okay.
You can go to Facebook and take the test there.
Oh, easy.
Or you can
Social
go,
media.
That's right, and you can go to Walgreens and they will actually print one out for you.
Oh, great. And we have some information on the screen. You just click in the section that says, are you at risk? That's
Right.
the tab there. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Marjorie, for coming in, talking to us about this. Very important. Again, tomorrow is that one-day wake-up call, so to speak, to get out there and take that test. Pretty easy to do.
Right, but they can take it all through the month, just so
So
you know.
it's basically
Okay?
starting tomorrow, but
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't just have until tomorrow.
Right.
But that's when the whole campaign starts.